Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to a NAMI Davidson County education session. I'm Don Liacano, our Chief Program Officer. Tonight, I'm welcoming our Youth and Recovery Coordinator, Jace Wilder, and Katy Schmidt, who is a board member here at NAMI Davidson County and also a professor at Belmont. We're very happy to have them tonight. This is a youth-oriented education session titled From College Stress to College Success. And I will say personally, this is something I could have used in college as a peer with mental health conditions. One of my first major breaks was while I was working on my PhD at Purdue many years ago. Uh, as I joke, I was working on my PhD when email was a new thing. So that dates me right there. But I want to welcome our presenters tonight and pass it on to Jace right now. So let's get started.
Yeah, thank you, Don. So like they said, my name is Jace. I use he, they pronouns. I am the Youth and Recovery Coordinator here at NAMI Davidson County, and I am also an adjunct professor at Belmont University. And Katy Schmidt is a occupational therapist with a specialty in mental health. She is also an assistant professor of occupational health at Belmont University. So with that, we will go ahead with our slide deck. So
All right. Thank you, Jace. So we wanted to get things started off here, focusing on some different stressors that college students commonly face. And the first one that we're going to focus on is work life. And I don't know about you, but that image of this guy with his forehead on the laptop feels pretty relatable. I have definitely been there. All right. Jay, should I go ahead and get started on this one?
sure, yeah.
So with work life, a few recommendations, just some strategies to consider. One tip could be to find jobs that allow you time to work on schoolwork, like while you are on the job. For example, some jobs where you might be sitting at a desk and have some downtime, that might allow you to multitask. And then next, find work that builds the skills you want for your future. So being intentional about finding a job that hopefully, maybe it's related to jobs that you're interested in for your future career, or at least you can just build some skills on the job. Don't take on more than you can handle if you can help it. And I understand that that can be difficult if you're balancing schoolwork and then also have to pay bills and keep that job. But just as much as you can, try to make sure that you have time for yourself and to balance rest with responsibilities. Rest is important to be able to keep doing your work well, both your job and schoolwork. And then we advise that you talk with your advisor, mentor, or counselor about career goals regularly, and then pace yourself. You're going to hear this message again and again tonight, but pacing yourself and finding a balance in your responsibilities and your rest, that's going to be important for health and being successful in all these different parts of college.
Right. Then comes money management, which is very closely linked with our work life, but also affects often how we are able to function in college as well. So having an understanding of your income and your expenses, this can just be, you don't have to have a full-on budget. It can just be that you understand how much income you're getting each month and how much you're potentially having to pay out, and that would be enough. But just having that understanding could really decrease stress. If appropriate, then make a budget. If that's something that is helpful for you and wouldn't be too stressful, then make a budget. Have a savings account no matter how small. It doesn't matter if all you get in there is $50 and that you only keep that $50 away from yourself so that you can make sure that you have gas money or extra food money or whatever it is to make sure that you can get through an emergency in case that happens. Again, doesn't matter how small it starts or how small it stays, as long as you're starting that. Um, talk to financial advisors on campus. This is something that, a lot of times we think about only talking about financial advisors whenever we're talking about FAFSA and talking about financial aid. But they can also be helpful in helping us not only understand student loans or scholarships, but also understanding just general expenses as well. So definitely reach out to them to make sure that you know what kind of advice you can have. Take classes around finance. Just having extra knowledge around finance can be really helpful, and you're already in a spot where you're taking on classes to help expand your worldview. So expand your worldview when it comes to finances as well. And then finally, take advantage of emergency support and ask for help when needed. This is something that I wish that someone had told me whenever I was in college, because I was struggling really massively with my financial situation, and I didn't realize how much help was out there. And more we're seeing on campuses emergency food banks. We're seeing more emergency scholarships for students and stuff like that. So please reach out if you feel like you need help and that you're struggling with finances. And then now stressors include classes. So we're going to talk about classes.
Okay, so in your classes, some strategies that you might try. First, ask for accommodations. I find that a lot of folks could be eligible to receive coursework accommodations, and there's a lot of different type of accommodations. And so just start that conversation. Often that would be with the Office of Disability Services or something sounding similar. And then you would that office would help you to communicate your accommodations to your professors as needed. So they could, help you learn more about that process. And then this next recommendation is to meet with your professors for extra help. And this recommendation comes from both, excuse me, from both Jace and I, and we are two professors, and we both really want to meet with our students. I know for me, meeting with my students outside of class is one of my favorite parts of my job, and I wish that I would see more students in my office for that sort of support. So definitely take advantage of that. Professors want to help you. Excuse me. And then next, take notes in a format that works for you. So when you're in class and taking notes, there's a lot of different ways to take notes. You don't have to write down every single word that the professor says. You don't even have to write anything in class if that's not helpful. Some people record lectures. I recommend asking the professor for permission first, but I'm sure they'll be cool with it. And you could always listen back to it later and take notes separately, or there's all kinds of technology that can help you take notes as well. So there's lots of options. And next, try to limit how many days you miss. And I understand that sometimes this could be a challenging, but and that there might be some really important reasons that you do miss class. So I don't want to invalidate that, but do your best to actually be in class because once you start missing classes, it's really easy to just fall behind on both the content and the assignments. And things can snowball pretty quickly, unfortunately. So just trying to stay on top of actually attending those classes. And then, excuse me, set realistic expectations for yourself. I think I understand that there's a lot of pressure to be really successful in school. And I know that getting a good grade is really important. But also, we can recognize that our worth is not tied to our grades. And a lot of professions can allow you to graduate and get a really good job, even, with B's or C's. There's that old saying that C's get degrees. So getting at that A isn't necessarily the goal. Remember, your goal is just to learn and to grow. And then again, pace yourself when it comes to classes. there's a lot of different like schedules that you could take as you go through college. There's the common schedule of graduating in 4 years, but you don't have to do that. A lot of people don't. You can take more time. You don't have to have a full load every semester, and give yourself more time to rest or manage your health or work or whatever other responsibilities you have to deal with. So there's always different options.
Then we go to managing coursework, which we split up into three different categories, which is first off group work, then homework and studying, and exams. So starting with group work, first, we realized that sometimes working with group members is not always the most fun thing in the world, but it's a necessary part of our educational experience because it unfortunately can reflect the real world, which is that at times you're going to have people around you that maybe don't get the deadline or don't get the work done, and you have to know how to uh, communicate in those moments. So one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize is utilizing assertive communication. Now, this can take some practice, and you can practice this on your own or with people that care about you. But just practicing that assertive communication so that you can relay to the group member how important it is to get this work done and how important it is to split the work evenly, which is another portion of it. So, talking to your group members before talking to others when conflicts arise. So, this includes talking to um, other classmates as well. So, like, don't talk to other classmates before you talk to the group member because the last thing that you want is for things to snowball out of control and like they hear from someone else that you have a problem and da 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 da. And no, just kick it in the butt in the first place and talk to them, and again utilize that assertive communication. Then if there is a need for escalation, talk to the professor or others if the conflict can't be resolved. So talk to that professor, especially if for some reason that person isn't being responsive to you or they are potentially even being combative with you, whatever it is. Just take it up with the professor. They can help you and help you potentially get a different group member, or if they don't get a different group member, talk to the group member about like behavior and expectations and stuff like that. So, talking to the professor, if nothing else works, can be really helpful as well. Then, homework and studying. This is probably one of the most time consuming things that we have, which is homework. But the thing is that, again, it can sometimes reflect back into the real world of just being able to get work done from home or from basically just like not being at the workspace and getting things done outside of those like quote unquote work hours. So, first off, join study groups or study away from your dorm slash bedroom. So first with joining study groups, it can be a friend group that you already have. It could be a study group that you find online or that you find through your university's like GroupMe or Discord or whatever it is that you kiddos are using. Basically just whatever it is that you can find that is helpful. You find that study group and utilize it whenever you can. And then studying away from your dorm slash bedroom can sometimes be really helpful because we associate things together, right? So we associate our dorm with rest a lot of the times, and the better that we can do at separating out our place of study and work from our place of rest can be really helpful, both for getting more things done and for continuing to, just progress and getting rest properly. Finally, keeping up with the schedule. Now, again, this can be sometimes more or less important depending on who you are as a person, but I know that for me, it was really helpful for me to make out a schedule about when things were due, what days of the week I was going to study, what days I was not going to study, stuff like that. Can really just help create habits and routine and can make things a lot less stressful. And then finally, for exams, again, ask for accommodations. If you have those accommodations through your disability office, making sure that your professor knows beforehand that you have this accommodation and that you're going to be utilizing it for the exam can be helpful for both of you, just so that there's clear communication between both you and the professor. Then there's also bringing fidgets and using those fidgets during the exam. Now again, like don't come in with the big clacky ones that are like really loud and everything, but like, there's like the tangles and like the fidget spinners, stuff like that. Those can be quiet and can be helpful for helping you remain focused during an exam and get some of that anxiety out. Sleeping is a study strategy. I know the infamous tax of, trying to stay up all night the night before and getting all the information in. But the thing is that that's not only not going to be really all that effective, but it can actually really kind of come to bite you in the butt. And so it might be better for you to actually try and spread out that study schedule and use that scheduling to study and then trying to get more rest the night before so that you do better on the exam. Nourish your body before the exam. This can include just making sure that you get a good breakfast in if you're a breakfast person. If you're not a breakfast person, even then, maybe trying to get a little something in, like a little bit of protein in, can really help out with your exam. And then finally, try guided meditations for exam anxiety. And we're actually going to put in the chat a link to I'm putting in the chat right now a link to a meditation that is for specifically exam stress and exam anxiety. So just making sure to utilize what tools you can, and yeah, that's it for exams. Now
Right.
for our social life section.
Thanks, Jace. So in college, there's a lot of folks to interact with, a lot of social opportunities, but then also at the same time, some barriers that can make it challenging to feel engaged. So wanted to spend some time addressing the social life aspect of college. So first, just saying hello and smiling to someone new on campus or in your class, that can actually be a way to start a conversation and maybe a connection and maybe a friendship. It A lot of college students are in a similar position where they, maybe have moved or, they're starting to a new school and don't have a lot of folks to connect with. And so I think especially in college, this sort of, friendly conversation, people are can be open to it and to connecting. So just give it a try to get a little friendly interaction there. There's a lot of clubs and organizations to consider joining in college. So if you haven't yet, check out what clubs and organizations are available to you. And typically, there's a lot of different options that tend to have some focus of some similar interest. So that might be a shared hobby, such as a sport or a passion for a certain type of art or music or something like that. Or maybe a passion for some sort of community service or even mental health. So there's a lot of really specific clubs and organizations, and that's a really great way to connect with folks with similar interests and probably better likelihood of meeting new friends. When I was in college, I was a big nerd. Well, I still am a nerd. And so my favorite club was psychology club. And I met with my other fellow nerds and we did nerdy things like celebrating Sigmund Freud's birthday and silly things like that. So yeah, met some good friends there. Uh, Ask to join a table at the dining hall. So when you're going to eat, and if you are eating alone, that sometimes that doesn't feel the best, and you might want to eat with someone, and it doesn't hurt to ask to eat with someone new. So you can always give it a try. And then we recommend that you don't rely on drinking or drugs to be social. And we recognize that, drinking and drugs can be part of the college experience, and it can be, a very commonly thing that it can be encountered. But we at least recommend that you don't count on the effects of drinking or drugs to enjoy interacting with others. There's other ways that you can enjoy social opportunities just as yourself. And then next, try to use social media wisely. I'm sure you've probably heard that there's, some research that suggests that a lot of social media use is related to poor mental health. And there's a variety of reasons for that. So I think the important thing here is just to be intentional and aware of how you're using social media. And I know it's hard. I'm definitely someone who has spent many hours scrolling mindlessly. But there's purposes to using social media. You might be able to use it to connect with folks or to rest, but just try to be more aware of how you're using it and why. And then just be open to new experiences, especially in college. There's lots of new things to try, new places to go, and new people to meet. It's hard to expect or to know what to expect in every situation, especially in social situations. So just trying to be a little flexible and go with the flow, just being open-minded to trying something new. And then it's important to do your best to find a community. And that sense of community is just that sense of being part of a group of folks with similar values or interests. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be close friends with a ton of people, but just to feel like you are part of something and that you have folks that you can rely on if you need. And often that community can be found in a lot of different ways, but some of these other tips, like joining clubs and organizations, can be a helpful place to find that community. Another way to connect with folks is to volunteer or do service work with others. And volunteering and service work is really meaningful for a lot of reasons. One, it typically feels good to serve your community. But two, you often get to meet other folks who are volunteering or doing similar work. And if you are volunteering somewhere for an interest of yours, for example, if you really love animals and you volunteer at an animal shelter, you're going to meet other people who really love animals. And that's a nice way to connect with folks with similar interests. And then once again, pace yourself, especially there are a lot of social opportunities in college. So if you are the type of person who is involved in a lot of opportunities, there is a fine line and a balance to be found there because you can overdo social activities. And it's important to make sure that you don't overfill your schedule with social activities at the detriment of your schoolwork or your sleep or your self-care. So just again, finding balance between all of those different life activities. So next, we're going to talk about mental health management in college.
All right. So first off, with mental health, things can be really complicated in our college years. So we actually know as a fact that with our mental health, that if you have mental illness, that college years are the time in which mental illness can really start coming out. And that young adulthood is a very vulnerable time in itself, but it can be ultra vulnerable whenever you're stressed out during college and all those things start coming up and all the things that we talked about before start coming up, and then our mental health can really start to tank. So it's really important to take care of our mental health. And so one of the first things that we talked about is try not to compare yourself with others. Especially if you have a mental health condition, it can be really easy to see that someone else is taking on an internship and they're working and they're, getting A's in class and everything, and you're over here maybe getting C's and all this stuff. And it can be really easy to compare yourself and see that that person is somewhat more successful than you or whatever it is. But the thing is, they're not dealing with the same thing that you are. You guys don't live the same life. You are on two separate planes of existence. And so it's important to recognize that and to recognize that comparing yourself to others is not going to get you anywhere. So really try to remember to take that in. So yet again, ask for accommodations. Yes, you can get accommodations for your mental illness. That is something that is really important to remember, is that yes, physical disabilities and physical ailments deserve accommodations, but so do mental health, and mental health accommodations, mental health ailments also deserve accommodation too. So just remember that and to take advantage of that whenever you can. Keep up with medication and treatments. Again, it can become one of those things that becomes a back burner type deal whenever you have homework and you're studying and you're going to class, and suddenly you haven't been on your medication for 2 or 3 weeks. So try to keep up with your medications, keep up with treatments that you're in. If you're taking ketamine infusions or you're doing ECT, stuff like that, make sure that you have a schedule of people that can take you to those treatments and stuff like that. So just making sure that you're not falling behind on that because it can spiral very quickly. Attend therapy sessions and or support groups if possible. This will tie in with something that we talk about later, but you can indeed get treatments on campus as well, and you can join support groups on campus. But if possible, try and always attend those therapy sessions and those support groups whenever you feel the need or whenever you just have them come up. So don't fall behind on those either. It's really easy to, again, for it to spiral. So keep a schedule, keep track of those things, and really go whenever you need it. Ask for support during episodes or low periods. This can be incredibly hard, especially whenever we're trying to make friends and we're trying to look a certain way or, like, quote unquote, look normal or feel normal. But it's not going to help you to try and do all that at the cost of your mental health. So try and rely on other people, whether it's people that were already in your life, like family or friends from high school or before then, or if it's new friends that you're meeting now, and even professors. It's okay to ask for help from professors too. We shouldn't be your first contact, but the thing is that we do want to be there for you if you're struggling. So don't forget that you have a lot of different opportunities for support. And then finally, utilizing hospitals and emergency services when needed. If you get to a point whenever you're having immediate active suicidality or homicidality, you need to reach out for support. There's no shame in that. There is no shame in needing that extra help. And yes, you will obviously have to keep up with schoolwork later, but that's a later issue. We will help you as professors catch up with that classwork and tell you what is necessary in order to catch back up. And then, if needed, if you need to take a semester off, that is also no shame. Again, everyone does things at their own pace and does things at their own time and speed. So don't feel like you have to keep up with a certain schedule of that, especially hitting that 4 years, only getting those 4 years and only doing those 4 years. No, it's okay if you need to take an extra semester. So you really just, again, utilize hospitals and emergency services when you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, in my teaching experience, that I have supported students, several different students in different situations, through mental health crises and hospitalizations and just, life situations of various kinds that does take them away from their schoolwork, whether that's for, a few days or a week or a month or a semester or even longer. And I just want to echo what Jace said, and that we, as your professors, we care about you and your well-being, and that's the number one priority. And I know that I have and will do everything I can to support my students as they're just dealing with whatever comes up in life, and that's just part of the job, our job as professors. So it's nothing new. It's nothing terribly unusual, and it's something that we have ways to support folks through. So definitely don't be afraid to go to the hospital or get services, especially if you're just worried about missing class. And then just a couple other tips for mental health. Like Jace mentioned, there are a lot of resources available on the majority of college campuses, and different sort of health services, including mental health counseling and support groups. So if you don't know what's available on your campus, I recommend checking that out. Some colleges have free or low cost services for counseling, and some have telehealth options as well. And that might include a 24/7 telehealth line. So for example, if it's the middle of the night and you're having a really bad night and need someone to talk to, your campus might have a resource for that. So make sure to check out what's available on your campus. And then next, time management. I know it's tough, but it's really important for mental health. And we're not just talking about like scheduling your classes and your homework and your work, but also make sure that you are scheduling time for yourself and your own rest, your hobbies, your social activities, your sleep, and even just scheduling in, some free time each week just as a buffer where you don't have anything planned. I find that things pop up every week that I don't expect and I can't plan for. So having some free time planned into my schedule tends to be pretty helpful. And then that also leads us to this next point here, which is to rest and to rest effectively, because there's different types of rest. And I think people often think about rest as a physical thing, to restore that physical energy and to get energy back into the body. But there's all different kinds of rest that we need. There's mental rest, which is especially important after spending time on classes and homework. There's emotional rest, where we are filling up our cup with things that make us feel more emotionally well. There's social rest, for example, spending time to yourself, or spending time with others. That social rest can look like different things depending on the person. I know for me, I'm an introvert, but I really value spending time with others. So I have to find the right balance of spending time with others and then also making sure I get at least a little bit of time to myself to kind of recharge that battery. So there's just different types of rest. So it's important to think about not just getting enough sleep, but what are activities or things that you can do or not do that are actually restorative? So types of restoration, there's different ways to restore your energy, and just be intentional and thoughtful of, okay, in this free time, did I just spend my free time in a way that was restorative? Or was it draining? And there's a time and place for either, but it's really important that you are finding some type of restoration. And so besides sleeping or napping, that could also look like doing things with people that you enjoy, going for a walk, getting out in nature, maybe doing some physical activity, doing a craft, maybe watching a show or reading a book, listening to a podcast, playing with pets if you have them, those sorts of things. So find what is restoring for you. And then once again, pace yourself. That's the important message throughout this entire presentation. Pacing yourself, and not spreading yourself too thin in any certain area is going to be key for mental health.
Then we're going to talk about what can I do today. So we just presented a whole bunch of information to you. So it's not about trying to fit in every single thing that you've heard today, but rather figuring out what can I do today. So take away what you can do and what you feel is important to you. The thing that is important to me may not be important to you, and the thing that's important to Katy may not be important to you. So just taking away what is important to you and really just focusing in on that. And then don't overwhelm yourself with action. There are plenty of things to do, but there is only so much energy that you have in each and every day. So making sure that you take action that feels like it feels good to you and feels like it is imperative to your success is what's going to help you the most. So taking even a small action of what you can do today is going to be important. And then what can you do today? That is the question to ask, which is did I hear tonight that I can even start with today? What is most important to you, and what small steps can I take? What small step can I take after this to maybe accomplish one final goal for the night? And then maybe what is one small step I can take tomorrow that can help me get closer to that goal? Maybe it's starting a piece of paper that starts a schedule. Maybe it's actually filling out some of that schedule, whatever it is, but just taking away what's important to you, what's most important to your goals, and what it is that is going to help you the most.
All right, so that leads us to the end of our presentation, and we want to open it up for any questions or thoughts that y'all might have. Feel free to enter something into the chat, or you can unmute and speak your question out loud.
Yes, if you do not feel comfortable asking the question out loud, please put it in the chat and I can ask it for you. While we're waiting for questions, I want to I appreciated touching on the social life, as I have said, as someone who was working on their PhD and had a mental health breakdown. Alcohol helped help that breakdown very fast. The college life is sometimes unfortunately based around that, the social life. And as a shy loner, who Katy, I was never called a nerd, but I was a shy loner, and we usually ran in the same circles. But I always stressed people, don't make the mistakes I made. I used alcohol as a stress reliever. I used alcohol as a social lubricant. I used alcohol just to get through the day at times. And it makes, especially those of us with mental health issues, our mental health issues a whole lot worse to manage.
Absolutely.
So do we have any do we have any questions or comments about tonight's presentation?
Just like to say, Katy and Jace, thank you so much. So incredibly helpful. I mean, because yes, I'm not in college anymore, but I love seeing the like correlation into work as well. And using that stress, because there is a lot of, I mean, even with my child, like I'm thinking he's not in college, but he's going through school, and I'm like, these are great skills to teach him now, because so many of those I did not have, like y'all were saying. So I just appreciate what y'all brought tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley.
We have a comment that it was a great presentation and useful information for college students.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Any more questions or comments about tonight's presentation? I will take that as you guys both, Katy and Jace, did a thorough job for this presentation. We always appreciate that. And we appreciate anybody taking time out of their schedule, especially in the evening, to present for NAMI Davidson County. But I want to go ahead and wrap up our session tonight by reminding you all that we do have free programs, support groups, education classes, awareness events, advocacy. We get out in the community and thumb our nose at the stigma that is still surrounds mental health issues. As the chief program officer, I am also always open to suggestions for future education sessions. This is the 37th virtual education session that we've hosted in my 4.5 years at NAMI Davidson. All of them are on our, as of tomorrow, all 37 will be on our YouTube channel, which is NAMI D Info. For those of you who registered tonight, you will be receiving the PowerPoint presentation that Katy and Jace are willing to share that they presented from tonight. And I always want to thank everyone for supporting our sessions, supporting our affiliate and the work we do in the community. I would be remiss if I did not mention our upcoming awareness event, our NAMI Walks Middle Tennessee, which we have rebranded. We are now working with other affiliates in the Middle Tennessee area to bring on NAMI Walks Middle Tennessee. It's hosted at First Horizon Park, the home of the Nashville Sounds. It is on the third Saturday of May every year. So this year it is on May 17th. Registration in person begins at 8 o'clock at the gates. The walk begins at 10. It should be a very fun event, especially if you want to walk the track around the baseball field. I believe three rotations is a mile, and you get a chance to be on the big guitar jumbotron during the event. So I encourage you all to come out to that. It is a fundraiser, but it is also our biggest community awareness event. Last year, we brought in over 700 people. We're hoping to bring in over 1,000 this year. So we welcome everyone listening to this on our YouTube channel and those who are here tonight for the education session to join us for that event. So I'm going to once again thank Jace and Katy for taking their time for college stress to college success. And thank everyone for coming, and good night.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.